Come in, Duke.
Hey, how's it going, man?
Very good. Thank you for asking. Duke, are you at least 18 and are you a believer?
Yes, yes to both of those.
Cool. And what kind of a God do you believe in?
I believe in the Holy
I
Trinity.
just
I'm
failed.
a non-denominational Christian.
Cool. So what would be the most compelling evidence or argument for the Bible God being real?
Um, do you want spiritual or like fossils, or how do you want to go with it?
Hey, whatever you think is convincing.
I think the most convincing is probably the seashells that they found like up on top of the mountains. I think that is kind of a alludes to there being some sort of flood at some point.
Is that so? You think the flood put them there?
I would think so.
How come there's not seashells on top of every mountain?
That's a good question. I think it might have to do with probably the age of the mountain.
Yeah, there you go. Now we're getting somewhere. The reason why there are seashells on top of some mountains, not all mountains, is because those mountains used to be under a body of water. So not all mountains existed for millions and millions of years. Some mountain ranges are fairly new.
I agree with you. The ones that I'm talking about though are quite old. I'll have to let me. I don't have my laptop with me right now, and if I close the app, it will.
I assume you're
I
referring to the Alps.
not quite. There were some. It was some mountain in the Middle East. Um, hang on, I'm fetching my laptop out of the.
Like where you think Noah's Ark was?
No. So they're saying that the Noah's Ark was probably roughly landed in closer towards like Africa.
Ararat, Mount Ararat,
Yeah,
up near Anatolia, the Caucasus Mountain Range.
yeah,
So Mount Ararat's only about 2 million years old, by the way.
interesting.
Yeah.
How old do you believe the Earth is?
What, 4.7 billion? Is that about right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so about half the time span of Earth's creation.
What?
No, no, 4 billion,
Oh, billion. My
two
bad.
million. Yeah.
My bad. Sorry, I misheard you.
It's okay.
Um, I guess I really just like I'm kind of curious to see your guys' perspective of things. Like, what questions do you have for like the people of faith? Like, what are your big questions? Like, what kind of like prevents you guys from believing? Is
I
it
got
the lack of
questions.
evidence? Yeah, fire away.
How versed are you in the Bible?
Not. I'm not gonna be 100. I'm gonna be 100% honest with you. I'm not 100% versed in it. I've probably read about three or four books. I'm still. I'm relatively new to the faith, so it's. I'm still working on going through a lot of them.
May I
Right.
ask you why you believe it's true if you haven't read it?
Absolutely. Yeah. So, um, a while ago, um, I had a dream where so in this for context, right? I have not prior to this dream, I had like almost almost little to none experience with church or going to church or anything like that. Very like almost literally none, no experience with the Bible, like reading it. And I had this dream where I went to the pearly gates, and they basically cast me down to hell. And I woke up and I just started crying like profusely. So that's that's kind of what cemented like woke me up. Like, hey, I need to be a better person than I am right now, because what I am right now is not enough.
So, do you know that people in other religions have, or other cultures have dreams about the gods of that culture too, right? I actually worked with a Hindu gentleman that was visited by two of the main three Hindu deities, and that was a lot of validation for him. But certainly, you wouldn't accept that those deities exist, would you?
Well, so a lot of what if we go back to like the book of Genesis and stuff, a common theme is that there are these pagan gods and the Christian God, right? Yahweh, he's upset that we go to these other lesser gods. And this is how the text explains it, right? I'm not discrediting anybody's religion, right? I'm just explaining it from the perspective of the Bible. It says that like, hey, you're giving all these attention to these false gods, but ultimately they don't really care about you like I care about you. And it's not we're not I don't discredit their existence, right? It's just that they're not as powerful as Yahweh. So they're not like they
Oh, so you believe in multiple gods? Like there's lots of gods and this is just the God that you worship?
no. So it's a little bit more complicated than that. It's so we have Yahweh, right? And if you go into the Bible and we talk about like if you go into the book of I believe it's either Isaiah or Ezekiel, I can't remember off the top of my head. It explains the fall of Lucifer and explains like how he convinced like a third of
Well,
his
hate to burst your bubble, but actually neither of those books describe the fall of Satan, even though both of those books are claimed to have doing so. Isaiah 14 and Ezekiel 28 are the chapters you're looking for, and neither one of them describe Satan at all.
okay.
I know
I'd have
that's
to
what the church teaches. I get that, but if you read the text, it's clearly not what it's referring to.
not you don't think that's what it's talking about whenever it's talking about the cherub that
Yeah,
got consumed by pride.
that's Ezekiel 28, and no, the cherub is a riff on Humbaba, the cherub that was in the cedar forest next to where this king of Tyre was. If you read the Epic of Gilgamesh, in fact, it's a direct parallel. So he's making fun of the king of Tyre using mythology from his area. Remember
Okay.
the taunt is to the king of Tyre after he's been defeated. So the taunt
Yeah,
has to be
no.
understandable to the king of Tyre. King of Tyre doesn't know a damn thing about Jewish theology, much less a Satan character that actually isn't really like the way he's in the Old Testament isn't like an evil, malevolent entity trying to harm everybody.
Yeah, that's possible. I
His
mean, they definitely use pop culture a lot in the Bible. Like the book of Jude, I believe it is. He references a couple things that are local
Enoch.
to the. Yeah,
Yep. Yeah, Jude quotes directly from Enoch. Uh-huh. First Enoch chapter 9, I think.
I have not read the book of Enoch, so I don't know quite 100%.
It's all right.
Uh,
Let me ask you a question.
what's up?
Um, you may not know a ton of the Bible, but you probably are familiar with the Christian doctrine. Why does God send people to hell?
It's not that he wants us to go to hell. It's that it's because we've like so sin separates us from God, right? That's the whole premise of it. So like if I'm caught up in a sexual immorality, it prevents me from like being in a relationship with God because he's given us the Holy Spirit to like have a closer relationship with him. That was the whole purpose of like Jesus sacrificing his life for us.
Mhm.
Um, it's really that we put ourselves into that position. It's not the will of the Father for us to go to hell. It's that we've put ourselves in such a position that it's like I don't think that they would ever change their minds or want to believe in a God.
Okay, I'm going to give you an analogy. Do you have any sisters, niece?
Yeah, yeah.
If I asked your sister on a date and I said, "Hey, we're going to have the time of our lives. You know, I'll be the the best date night you've ever had, but if you say no to me, I've got to lock you in my basement and light it on fire. Am I good or bad?
As a person, you'd be bad, yeah.
Yeah. So why is it different when God does it? When God gives you the ultimatum of love me or get tortured in fire, why is that now a good thing?
It's not quite love me or get tortured in fire. It's more like he's giving us like so much, like the whole purpose on earth is to either get closer to God, or if it's to either get closer to God or find God. It's not quite, it's not that he wants us to. I'm sorry, can you say the question again? I'm a little bit, I
If you
just woke up
if
like
you don't
30
choose
minutes ago.
God, he will torture you, won't he?
If you choose to completely neglect God, I mean, I'm not the one that makes the judgment, but it's not, it doesn't look, as scripture says, it's not, your judgment day isn't going to look great.
Right, but we're trying to figure out why, because it seems like a really silly outcome for not believing in this deity, right? So I don't believe in this deity. I would, in fact, say that my life looks most like the life of any believer you've ever met. The difference is I believe and I don't believe and they do, right? So I'm trying to figure out why I should be tortured for eternity in hellfire or until annihilation, either one.
Have you tried asking God about it?
Yeah, I was a Christian for 20 years.
What made you separate from the faith?
The Bible wasn't true.
And I think the point is, do you have the ability to determine, is this a just system? Is this a fair system? And, I think in this conversation, a lot of times we hear from Christians, well, it just is what it is. Like, I don't make the rules. I just have to be part of the system. But I think, well, I hope that you would not bow down to a tyrant. You would not worship someone you thought was bad. And so there's this disconnect between what you're saying God does and yet somehow your own sense of justice.
No, so God's not a tyrant, right? So whenever he casts Lucifer down to earth, right? Because he rules the earth today, right?
Why?
Um,
Why would he put Lucifer in charge of the earth if he's bad?
because he doesn't he's waiting. I think so. His ways aren't my ways, so I don't understand the plan entirely. But I think what God is trying to do is line up the earth to be in a position where his son can take rule over the earth. And right now he can't do that because Satan is on earth right now.
Just why does he need to get rid of Satan then? Just axe him, get him out of here.
Because I don't think God likes to just destroy. Like I think that there may be two phases to his plan, right? There could be that right now it's everybody can go and worship God, or they can separate themselves, and then once Jesus has established his like kingdom, there could be a phase two plan where it's like, okay, well now we're trying to save the people that didn't get saved, like, because God is merciful and he's loving. He's not he's given us a lot of second chances. I doubt that they're
But the Satan thing, I'm trying to figure out why he put the most evil entity in all of history in charge of the earth. Seems like a real weird thing to do.
That's a good question. I'm sure there's an answer, but I'm not the one that's in charge of that.
Right.
That's not my circuit.
But Duke, you are in charge of who you worship.
Right.
Right. And so it's if God is doing something that appears to be really mean or unjust or bad, I think it is your responsibility to figure out, are you worshiping a good God or not?
I'll give you an example from a different religion. Okay, so like have you read through the Quran?
I've read probably about a chapter or two. I couldn't really
I'm gonna
wasn't yeah.
I'll read you something from the Quran. And remember, this comes from God, right? So I want you to tell me if you think the God of this book is behaving good or bad. It says, suppose a man marries a woman, but after going into her, dislikes her and makes up charges against her, slandering her by saying, I married this woman, but when I lay with her, I did not find evidence of her virginity. The father of the young woman and her mother shall then submit the evidence of the young woman's virginity to the elders at the city gate. Okay, so if a woman doesn't bleed on her wedding night, they got to go to court. And be like, listen, I slept with her. I didn't see the evidence of the virginity. You told me she was a virgin. She said she was a virgin. Where's the blood, right? So it says,
Right.
when you get there, it said, they shall spread out the cloth before the elders of the town, and the elders of the town will take the man and punish him. So the proof of the virginity is the cloth, right? Whether or not she bled on the
Right.
cloth. Okay. Now, if the man is found to be lying, he gets to pay a fine, and then they have to be married for the rest of their life. If the woman is found to have not bled on the sheet, it says, if, however, the charge is true that the evidence of the young woman's virginity was not found, then they shall bring the young woman out to the entrance of her father's house, and the men of her town shall stone her to death because she committed a disgraceful act. So, do you think that's a fair thing to do, to brutalize by stoning a young woman who didn't bleed on her wedding night?
No, I don't think so. No.
No. And you would say the God who gave that command is like horrific. Because like brides don't bleed their first time. Only 43% of them on average bleed their first time. Which means like a bunch of innocent women are going to get stoned.
It's possible.
Right.
Again, there's no way of really knowing like why he would give that command.
Well, this is from Allah, right?
Right.
Why would Allah want this command? He tells you in the book, he says to purge the evil from among you. You got to kill the non-virgins based on faulty evidence.
It could be, we could argue that it was a law that was established to tell fathers to properly raise their daughters so that they don't end up so they don't end up in a situation like that. It could be
The situation like that we're describing is a woman who could be a virgin and just by nature of her biology doesn't bleed on her wedding night. That is her situation.
right.
So how is a father raising a daughter correctly to ensure she bleeds versus not if it actually has nothing to do with her virginity?
Okay, so that will go into the traditions of marriage, right?
No, no,
So
no,
that
no. I'm talking about the biology of the situation. The
right.
law
And
says if you don't bleed, you're not a virgin. However, biologically, many virgins do not bleed their first time.
okay. And that evidence is probably right. I don't know how
It
I
is.
don't know. Okay. And
There's
I'll
a
assume
Sarah's a physiologist, by the way.
okay. Cool. So then you're definitely right. So that we don't know if that law was taken into 100%.
What-
Not.
But no one's
But
asking if it was followed. We're asking, is it a good law?
I don't know the context behind the law or not. That's one of the things that
Is there
we
any context in which that would be a good law?
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to
if
figure
it
out. Like, I don't know of any context
yeah.
that makes killing innocent women good.
No, it's not that. So it's not the context of like right. So we tell stories. We tell stories that are really bad to protect people, right? And
This is a story
sometimes,
about a god. Is this god a good character or a bad character based on the story?
if he was giving that law to protect people, then yes.
From no, it's hurting people.
It's,
What do
it's
you mean
hurting
protect?
people. It's killing innocent women.
Okay, so again, if we go back to the traditions of marriage, right? It's the father's responsibility to make sure that the daughter is seated in the proper hands of a husband.
But
This
but
was back then, right?
but dude, just
I'm not
pause for a
saying that's
second.
how it is.
Pause for a second.
Okay.
We're not saying that that's not happening. What we're saying is that at least half of the women would not have bled their first time and still be innocent and get killed. That's the problem. You don't.
Can you give me the Bible quote that you're referring to, specifically the verse?
I told you it was in the Quran.
I think he's on to you, Justin. That's why he's defending it.
Yeah, I was curious about that, or if you just didn't hear me correctly.
So, dude, just so that we're on the same page, this is a law that says if you don't bleed on your wedding night, you die. And half of the women who are virgins, so who have done nothing wrong, who have followed the law, whose fathers have done what they were supposed to do, everything they've done is correct, they will still not bleed on their wedding night. And so the God who wrote this law is condemning innocent women to death.
I'm sure there's a reason behind it.
Why? Why are you sure there's a reason behind it?
Is there ever a good reason to kill innocent people?
No, I mean, if you can spare as many lives as you can, then you should. But if there if there's if there has to be like some sort of I again, I don't know, because his ways aren't my ways. I don't that's not something that I'm supposed to fucking.
But dude, you are supposed to decide if this God is good or bad. And if you are going to pledge your allegiance to this God, it is your responsibility to read the claims, to read the book, and to know what this God actually does before you pledge your allegiance to him. I know that you can see that God has written a bad law. This is literally commanding his followers to stone innocent women. And so that is clear evidence that this God has created a bad law that harms people.
I think that there was some sort of purpose behind it.
Why? Why do you think that? Why have you decided that God is good before reading about God?
I have read about God.
You haven't read most of the Bible. You have to read the whole thing to see the whole picture.
And I'm getting there, but I haven't gotten there just yet.
Right. That's my point, is you've preemptively decided that this God is good. You preemptively decided that. And now when you're seeing evidence to the contrary, you're just pushing it away because you've already decided. And even though the document you claim is true is showing you how this God is harming people, you won't see it because you've already decided that he's good.
Because I've had a relationship with God. That's you don't need to. The Bible, yes, you need to read the Bible 100% so that you can understand the context of a lot of things, right? But if we base our judgment on God off of pre-existing mistakes, then
Wait, what?
The Bible or God making a mistake?
it could have been a person that interpreted it incorrectly.
So the Bible's not true?
No, it is true.
Okay, we read this directly from the Bible to you.
Right. but we don't understand the context at which God has dished out this command.
I do.
There's a lot of information. Okay. Would you
I've
like
read
to
the
elaborate?
entire Bible. Yeah, this is one of the laws of Moses. It's in Deuteronomy 22. It's among the sexual purity laws. And God tells you to do it because he wants you to be pure because he walks among you in the camp. Deuteronomy 23. It's a purity law. That's it. It's not even a good one.
Is it possible that a lot of the because we have generation, have you heard of generational sin, right? I'm assuming you have.
That's going to make it worse, not better.
How so?
Because generational sin is unjust. I shouldn't be held accountable for my parents' sin. My sin shouldn't be held account to my child. That's silly and it's ridiculous.
Right, but that's why they back then you would sacrifice an animal or something to God,
Why?
and that would be an atonement for your sins.
Why does God need you to kill an animal so that he doesn't do something that's unjust?
I don't know why God needs. That's a question for God, not me.
See how once we probe a little under the surface of the God, it ends up with a lot of I don't knows. The reality is it's because the God doesn't actually make a lot of sense. He's just not just, he's not good. Do you think there's ever, and this is an encompassing statement, do you think that there is ever a scenario in any possible world where women should be punished for the crimes of their husband? So like if I go out, I commit adultery, should my wives be raped for my adultery?
I'm sorry. Could you say the question again? You broke out a little bit.
Yeah, if I committed adultery, is there a scenario in which my wives, say I have 10 of them for this example, my wives should be raped because I committed adultery?
The fact that you're hesitating is upsetting.
It is upsetting,
for
actually.
me-
The answer should
for
be
me,
no.
The question is why would you have 10 wives? That's the main
You
question.
better ask David.
Yeah, if you think that's the problem, you've got a huge problem. So, is there ever a scenario in which my 10 wives should have to be sexually assaulted if I commit adultery?
No, absolutely not.
Ever, no matter what.
No,
You read the story of King David yet?
I haven't gotten to that point. No.
I'm going to read you a snippet from 2 Samuel 12. So in 2 Samuel 12, God has to deal some kind of punishment to David for sleeping with Bathsheba. And he decides on two different things, right? He's going to do two different punishments. The one punishment you probably know of is the child born between him and Bathsheba gets sick and dies 7 days later. The second half of the punishment, which people tend to forget, is that he has 10 of David's wives raped. He says, "Thus saith the Lord, I will raise up trouble against you from within your own house, and I will take your wives before your eyes and give them to your neighbor, and he will lie with your wives in broad daylight. For you did it secretly, but I will do this thing before all Israel in broad daylight." And then if you fast forward to chapter 16, it happens. Absalom, the child of David, storms the palace, trying to defeat his father, take him off the throne. And in a display of force over his father, he takes 10 of David's wives up to the top of the palace and sleeps with them in front of all the onlookers. Do you think they deserved it?
The wives? No.
Yeah. Right. So when I read in Deuteronomy 32:4 that God is just in all of his ways, and then I read in 2 Samuel 12 where he punishes innocent women for the crimes of the husband in the most horrific way possible, I just conclude that this God is contradictory, and I don't believe that contradictions exist.
Do you believe that as human beings that we would abuse the grace of God if there wasn't serious consequences for our mistakes?
I don't think the consequences need to be unjust consequences, so I don't think the question's relevant. It doesn't matter if the consequences are in existence. I don't have a problem with consequences. I have a problem with the consequences being unjust. Like if my child goes to school and punches somebody in the nose, what I'm not going to do is say, because you punched this child in the nose, I'm going to have all your siblings get punched in the nose. That's not how that works. That's not how justice works. You see the problem, Duke? I suspect you do.
I'm sure there's an underlying reason behind it. I doubt that it was just because God is so evil and that he wants everybody that doesn't love him to off themselves.
It's just a punishment. He thought the most
Right.
effective means of punishing David was by having David's property, his 10 wives, raped. Why didn't he just punish David? Why didn't he just kill David for his sin?
Because he had a greater purpose for David.
Oh,
I'm not saying that the women's death were discredited, right? Not saying that that wasn't horrible, right? But
Could
he
God have not
probably
found somebody else?
he probably the question is would have David cared if he had killed anybody else?
No.
so he's using your argument is that he allowed David's wives to be assaulted, right? So this is raped. That's what's happening to them in order to make David feel bad enough. Like that is totally ignoring the women as people.
Yeah, I was under the impression that women were sentient thinking agents with feelings and rights as well.
Okay, well, here's my question for you. When did I ever say that women are awful, idiotic pieces
I didn't say any of that. You just said that they used the women for a greater purpose, that the women were used to make David feel bad enough. That's what I have a problem with.
Right. But we have to go back to what times were back then.
No, we
You're looking
don't.
at it from a perspective of today, which is not the whenever we're looking over historical stuff. Like how you were relating the things to pop culture before, right? We were talking about Ezekiel and Isaiah and how they were referencing things uh, of
So
importance to
I'm
the.
sorry, you're saying that uh, that assault was okay back then. And
No, I'm not saying
well,
that.
that's what we're talking
I'm
about.
saying that he could have used there's right, we have pop culture things in really awful ways and really good ways.
Again, this
There's
was something God directly commanded. This was God said, this will happen. Do this. God
it's
could have punished David in any way he wanted, and God's choice was to assault his wives. That was the punishment.
is it possible that God was prophesizing what was going to happen because God cannot interject with the free will of horrible
Oh,
people?
first of all, no, that's not what happened. And yes, he can. He does it all the time in the Bible. In fact, it literally says in Thessalonians that he sends a lying spirit so that people don't believe. So yeah, God invades on people's free will all the time. In fact, Romans chapter 9, Paul makes a case that you don't have free will and lays out the case for why God does it violate people's free will. But none of that's really relevant here. What's relevant here is that God is doing something that at its core is unjust by every definition of the word justice. And as it turns out, I don't think that women should be casualties to teach a man a lesson.
I don't think that they should be either. But again, we're looking at it from a context of today. There is a context of old times where
Then you're arguing that it was okay back then.
no, yes, today it's not okay, but back then that was probably a normal thing.
I'm not asking if it's normal. I'm asking if it's okay. Is it just? Those are two very different questions.
I don't know how the judicial system worked
No,
back
no, 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 not what the law was. Is it just?
in today's standard. No,
Was it
So
ever?
does
most
God
likely.
change what is good and bad? Like God said, yeah, this is great, good choice, and then he changed his mind. Like, ooh, whoops, just kidding. Assault is bad.
No, I don't think that he changed his mind. I think that there was a purpose behind that.
So back then, in Bible times, God thought that assault was wrong.
We know because Deuteronomy 22 says that SA is wrong. So God did something he knew was wrong.
It was not God himself that did that. It was most likely individuals that he knew were going to do it regardless, and
Oh,
he
no, that's not
warned.
true. We'll read it again, verse 11. Thus saith the Lord, I will raise up trouble against you from within your own house, and I will take your wives before your eyes. Remember, this is a punishment for David's actions. God's punishing David. So God's causing it.
Mhm.
Duke, this would be the right time to be honest with the passage and just admit how horrible it is.
No.
Yeah, I know. I wouldn't be honest if I was in your shoes either.
Okay. Well, I don't think that we'll see eye to eye on any of this. So I'll be
Well,
praying for you guys.
I'll be thinking for you. Don't worry. Have a good one.